Hello, I'm Bob Hammersley, Comox Valley Fly Fishers, and I'm going to be tying Denny Rickard's Callibaetis Nymph, fly that we had exceptional luck with last summer. It's a nymph pattern, and I'll give you the materials shortly, but it's to be fished on either a dry line or a very slow sink in the top portion of the waters. And this is a lake fly, and we had really good luck. The Callibaetis mayflies were popping off occasionally, and this fish just under the surface where the trout prefer to feed because they're a bit more protected, they were whacking it, and I had a 40-plus fish day on this fly. All right. Sure, we'll start. Okay, the materials for this fly, the hook is a 2x long. You can use a 9671 number 10 or 12. I've put in the vise I think it's just a short curved nymph hook in number 10, which I've been tying on. I seem to like that. The thread I'm going to use is nano silk, and it's kind of a beigey color. And I like to tie with that because it's really tough, and you can crank on a lot of wraps and it won't break. It's very hard to cut with scissors, so I use a razor blade. And the tail is a dyed wood duck mallard, and it's this material. That's the tail and the winging. The body is a hare's ear. Now, the way I was tying it last year, and it seemed to work very good, I mixed the hare's ear, and I mixed up a big bag of it, but I also put in some Callibaetis. I mixed the two. Ice dub Callibaetis seems to make the fly pop a bit. The rib is copper wire. Well, this is fine. I think Denny Rickards called for it a bit bigger than this, but this is what I had available. So it seems to work for me. The wing is the same as the tail, and the hackle is a small grizzly hackle. So we'll kick off here. Now here's a tip for you. I've been tying flies for 50 years, and I learned this because I always crowded the head with my materials, and I saw in a video that if you put this on and do your tie-in, start your tie-in where you want your head to start, then you got an index and you don't tie your materials on past that. So wrap your hook, give your hook a good coating of thread, bring it back to just past the point. You cut her off and take, this is not, there's no really fat bugs, so you want to tie this fly fairly slim. So about that much material, and this is going to be wing and tail. So probably about body length for the tail. I do, yeah. So tie that on, and one thing you got to remember about this fly is you want the tail to go straight back. If it's kinked off, either way, it doesn't work. So tie that a bit forward, and then you just pull this back and tie over it. Make sure you get past your tie-in point because you don't want to see your tie-in point in the finished fly. So, yep. So what I do next is take my copper wire right down into the throat of the scissors, tie it in. I maybe tie flies a little bit different than other people because and I'll show you how I do that too. And this, if you don't have really long fibers, you can tie in your tail and then take another piece and tie it in so you can make your over body. So I've got my rib tied in. So now you just take, and this is a pretty sparse fly. So just take your materials, and a little bit of the old UV, and just mix it up so that they're fairly even. Now most people would dub this in a dubbing loop, but I seem to do alright just wrapping it. So as soon as you can get it hooked on there, and try and keep your body slim because there's no fat flies. No. Okay, now another thing is you do not rib over your wing. You rib over the hackle. And this is the way I do it. You could take it and tie the tail at the back before you dub. But I mean, I find this much simpler. Yeah. So now, Denny Rickards is pretty firm on this. He says 3 wraps. So 3 only. There's one at the top. Because mayflies don't have a whole lot of legs. Yeah. So then you just hold that and catch it with your rib. Wrap your rib forward. There's probably about 4 there. And then you can helicopter that off if it works. Helicopter? Snip. And then you just pull and try and make sure you don't get the tail with it. Yeah, actually, you don't want the legs sticking out the top of your fly. Clip the top and bring this forward. Clip her off close. And tie yourself a small head. And here's another little tip I picked up from Fly Tying magazine or something. If you're not going to use head cement when you're doing your whip finish, do 4 wraps up the thread and 3 back down. That buries it underneath 2 over wraps. I don't tend to use head cement because I lose the flies, stick them in fish and stuff like that, so it's irrelevant. Yeah. So there's the finished fly, and they work like a darn. You're welcome.